How's it going, man?
It's good. It feels like this is like a bi-weekly thing here where we get to hang out, which I'm all here for.
Just in
So
different
you are,
capacities. Different capacities. Sometimes I'm on the other side of it, sometimes on this side of it.
yes, different responsibilities. I like it. I do like having you in the hot seat today because I know you guys have been well. You've been coding up a storm. You've been releasing some interesting things. Serpin Taxt, the CEO of Ethos, this peer-to-peer reviews on chain and secured by ETH.
Mhm.
Um, Okay. The we had you on last, well, two times ago. You were a guest host last time. Thank you again
Mhm.
for that. And we kind of dove into the broader vision here, and ultimately it's sort of this question of reputation and credibility in these open systems and the complications, I think, of sort of building those and navigating those. And I want to get into some of that because I love just watching your timeline and seeing how you just kind of get inserted into drama in a whole bunch of different ways, and you feel like you're maybe like the hot girl in school. It's trying to keep the social order in the cafeteria at some
Right.
level, which
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something I would ever wish upon anybody, but some people have different visions of their lives. Um, but I also always had the sense that there was much that this sort of this reputation layer was almost like base infrastructure for Ethos itself, and that really what that unlocks was a broader part of your vision. And so maybe we can talk about some of the things that you've been building here recently and maybe connect some dots to that bigger vision.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, I think you're on the right point of like when we first chat, it's all about reputation and credibility and I realized like it was weird to talk about sometimes because people are like, well, but that's just like it's not really like a tool. It's like a function almost. And one of the things that I realized really early on is like people were engaged with it. People liked the concept of it, but it didn't click with people until we launched Broker last week, where we have a way to kind of leverage this reputation and trade on chain, trade with someone else. And when you know who the counterparty is, you actually can be confident in doing an over the counter trade. And so really excited to have launched that last week where I'm calling it kind of like a trusted marketplace, a way where you can know who you're trying to over the counter trade with.
So I like to zoom out on this because there was the internet, and then there was Web 2, and a big part of Web 2 was sort of at least the products that have been incredibly valuable were ones that were able to sort of leverage the crowd to bring higher levels of trust to transactions. So whether that's reviews on Amazon or that's your rating for your Uber driver, um, for people who are maybe younger or there was this time where it was insane to think that you'd even put your credit card in to buy something on the internet. And it was unfathomable to think that you'd go stay in somebody's house or that you'd hop into some random person's car. And I think we undervalue how important that sort of trust in the trust markers or the reputation ultimately were for that. And so, okay, now we're rebuilding the financial system here, which I spent the entry of the show talking about the challenges of fundraising and of doing that in open systems and governance in open systems. And one of those big parts is that you just can't know all the time who is actually on the other end of an address or an account or a profile. And on my timeline, pretty much weekly, I'm seeing people who, I mean, I think last week there's somebody who got snaked for a whole bunch of lighter points through an OTC deal. So was that kind of like the impetus to really prioritize this?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, a lot of the stuff that we build is driven by things that we want to see in the market, right? Things that we want to use. And sometimes I think people forget. I run a hedge fund too, and I've done plenty of over the counter trades. I've gotten screwed on over
Mm.
the counter trades from big name people, like screwed. And I think it's really that is the core of how we build things is we build things that we want to use ourselves. We build things that solve problems that we have ourselves. And so, yeah, I think a really good example going back to history, like you were saying, is if you look at early '90s, you have something like Craigslist, and you had eBay. And eBay is the concept of anonymously buying something from someone else that you don't know. Like you are buying something on trust,
Mm.
effectively. And when eBay first started, there's no review system. It was just like someone lists something, you buy it, that's it. And eBay's trajectory changed completely when they introduced the concept of a rating system. And it's not because, oh, you're like a perfect person that has 100% reviews. It it's getting rid of the people that are screwing people over, right? It's pulling away and saying, if you have one bad transaction, you're not getting like a bunch of extra second chances here on eBay. And it didn't even have to be that eBay moderated it. It was self-moderation, self-regulation, self-control of like you had one bad transaction and now you're 99% positive. And now you're 96% positive. And people cared a lot. Like they really cared a lot about those. And so we saw the internet evolve in that way. And I feel like we kind of tried to pull the same concepts in of like early internet. You added reputation into the mix.
So I think OTC is an interesting one because it is a market that I think the vast majority of people have very limited understanding of what actually goes in there. So uh, I guess I'm intrigued by what the product focus has been here and
Mhm.
what you've actually built.
Yeah, to be honest, like we have taken the Craigslist approach to start, which is it's kind of like a board. You could post whatever you want. You can include over-the-counter trading, which usually looks like someone's buying an allow list for someone to go mint an NFT, or people are buying and selling Discord roles for Monad because they think it might get them some sort of like Monad airdrop in the next few weeks, to people selling their Monad cards on there, which apparently I don't think the Monad team was super enthralled by.
Yeah.
But things that are like we think about smart contracts are being really good at like I can buy something from you if you list it, but they're not as good with the squishy stuff, right? The things that like aren't the fungible things that are on chain or non-fungible tokens that are on chain. It's like this thing that is harder to trade because it doesn't exist on a smart contract. But we tried to expand it. We tried to go further than that and say, well, it's also about like if you know it's backed by reputation. So what if you guys needed someone to do clips for you? You could go say that you're looking to hire someone that does clips, like post your resume and oh wow, now I actually know who that person is, and I know this guy that knows this person that's a clip guy, and maybe I'll take that more seriously. And so what you're seeing is we're building these like primitive building blocks, right? We could say we're going to go really hard at being LinkedIn of Web3. We could say we're going to go really hard on turning into eBay of Web3, which is kind of weird too. But we wanted to kind of set just that additional layer of infrastructure on top of what we have today.
Okay, so like the thesis here is that trust scales horizontally into multiple different markets, and you can take a sort of generalist approach with your market infrastructure
Right.
and see what kind of
What lands?
what lands. Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, because when I think of OTC, like OTC in many cases, I feel is one of those markets that is actually served really well by the existing trust dynamics.
Hmm.
Because it's a very for most people an infrequent purchase or a
Hmm.
very large dollar amount purchase. There's trusted intermediaries. Yes, you probably pay through the nose for some of that stuff
Hmm.
usually, but it could be one of those tar pit ideas where you're like, that's obviously an issue, and the people that are in that market are saying it's actually not an issue.
Right.
Now, I think there is also a good argument to be made that there's a much more expansive market out there to be served, and most people don't, actually have trusted relationships with people who are
Hmm.
doing OTC. I think I'm in C Club Ventures with a bunch of people that go in and do this as a profession, and so I feel very well served from that. But uh, most people aren't lucky enough to be in that sort of trust network from day
Hmm.
one. Um,
Well, you can't scale that, right? The trust network does not scale, and it scales through one node on the graph basically. And so you take lighter points. People are really into lighter. It's hard to earn points on lighter right now. People want to buy lighter points because they want exposure to lighter whenever there's TGE. And there is a couple of people that run OTC desks for lighter, and they're the intermediary. They're saying, I know you, you know me, we'll trade these things. But it requires that node on the network. It requires you to know that person, and that actually doesn't scale. Like that is a non-scalable solution because you have multiple nodes and that could be connecting with each other that have to go through that one single node.
yeah, I'm just looking here. So we have Ethos invites for sale here. That's
Of
fun.
course.
We'll talk about that in a second here. Turtle NFTs, lighter points, Discord admin, Mega ETH testnet tokens, pencil arts. I'll create a pencil drawing for you. Interesting. Okay, so I mean, so how do often one of the big challenges in kickstarting a marketplace is density of
Mhm.
supply,
Mhm.
or I mean, you got to bootstrap both sides of it. So how do you like? are you kind of going to go category by category here? Are there places where you're really seeing more opportunity and trying to double down?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it's only really been out for a week, and so I would say like I'm in observation mode. Like what sticks with people are we the best way to sell lighter points? Probably not right now. um, if you go down the route of solving pre-market trading for points, you can get all the way towards Wales market where they have a chart and they have buy bid ask spread and but they require collateral. And so if you
Mhm.
think about Ethos again solving it in a very primitive way, it is built on reputation. It also means that you don't have to supply collateral. It means that your word is what you're really putting out there. And if you decide to bail later on the trade, well, you might get a negative review or you might get slashed by someone for missing that part. And so like I would say like what I'm actually observing is a little bit less like which markets is it really landing with. I think that's interesting, and we would might go harder on allow lists if that was it. But I think I'm kind of observing how are people leveraging reputation here,
Right.
and are they getting benefit from it, and is that better? Is that really solving a problem?
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, when I think about sort of the economic opportunities for Ethos as a network,
Mhm.
marketplace is one of them. I think, you know, token launchpad trading, like these other places where really there isn't a whole lot of context really on some of these offerings, and there's a lot of money on the line, and ultimately a lot of money to be made. Um, and I guess my question was before you gave me that last answer was like, why not go run at something like
Mhm.
that? But it seems like you're still really trying to keep yourself focused on understanding the edges of reputation, which leads me to think that you don't quite have it figured out yet.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the big proof that we're doing right now with Ethos is how do we show you that there are more use cases than just it's a product that you can go understand how reputable someone is. And so when you think about like we have Ethos markets, which is a speculative way to buy or go long or go short on someone's reputation if people opt into it. Now you have Ethos broker, which is a way to leverage trading on it. Like if you think about Ethos as an L1, which is a bad example because it's not an L1, but same kind of concept, right?
Mhm.
It is infrastructure at its core, and ethos.network, the website, is a block explorer effectively. Then what you're really like what our emphasis is on is building the first party apps on that infrastructure. And so whether it's speculative trading to start, now we have a marketplace. Like if the other marketplaces want to go partner with us and bring the ethos scores into them, that's amazing. But we also felt like, hey, this is relatively easy for us to build. Let's go put it out there. We can help people see the value of it. And maybe we can own that market or maybe not. And so we've
I,
kind of taken that approach.
I think L1 is very much the right mental model here, especially for crypto. And I think folks sort of expanding their understanding of what that is conceptually, I think is a big opportunity. Like I think there is this sort of question of like, why is a token valuable? Why is an L1 valuable? Why is a token valuable? Well, is it money? What can it go be used for, et cetera? I think, the quote pairs model of tokens emerging is kind of challenging that at some level as well.
Mhm.
I think, coming at it from a reputation standpoint and, like the primitive being trust is also a very interesting way. So asking yourself why are L1s valuable, I think is, and coming to your own answer, I think is
It's the
could
apps. It's the apps that get built on top of it, in my opinion, right? It's enabling those apps. And so it's valuable because it enables use cases to get solved for people.
yeah.
And so for us, I have to go solve that use case myself. Like if I'm building the first L1, it's like if you were building Ethereum, like in my opinion, you got to build Uniswap first. Like, and I know that's not how it played out.
ICOs first, baby.
Yeah, yeah, you start with ICO. Yeah. But like you have to have that first introduction so that people like again, if you just built Ethereum and you said, "All right, cool, now what?" Like there's nothing to do. Like and people will start experimenting and building things on top of it. But we have learned, I feel like by observing other infrastructure that is more traditional, like Ethereum L1 or any of the mega ETHs coming out, stuff like that, they're really focused on the app experience. And it's because that's what sets them apart. It's what they enable, not how they enable
I quit Ethos, fuck it, and fuck Serpin.
it. I saw that one.
I figure you probably saw that one. I think also you came across the timeline. I think with somebody who was fighting another project, and then I think you just shared the Ethos score image in the
Mhm.
in the reply, being like, "Are you surprised?" Um, I guess I'm just curious about, I don't know, like, how does it feel to be in that role? So the
Mhm.
fuck Serpin thing came from somebody who was clearly trying to game your system, right?
Right.
They were buying and selling invites, running these sort of,
They were
yeah,
selling reviews. They were
selling
paying
reviews,
people no, they were paying people to review them for
right?
$4
So
a
like
piece.
clearly not a good actor, and I mean, I think it is crazy. I mean, it's more of an indication of what people see as what good action in crypto is here. I
Mhm.
think from a certain type of user, which is like, of course, I'm going to go game the system. Like,
Right.
what are you fucking talking about? But
Mhm.
I guess I don't want to go into it all because I do have to get to our next guest here. But I'm just, how are you sort of conceptualizing your role as a leader and trying to I guess demonstrate good behavior here? It seems
Mhm.
like it could be a challenging position to put yourself in.
Yeah, it is challenging. I mean, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to show is that we are trying to lead through decentralized moderation, is what I would call it. And yeah, I slashed this guy that is very upset with me because I had definitive evidence that he was paying people to review him. And that is a pretty clear violation of like what I would call the social construct. Like you were trying to appear more credible by paying people, right?
Let's be real. Mutual vouchers and reviews are common on Ethos. No one writes reviews for free. Projects pay or offer discounts. That is standard.
And it's an interesting one, right? Like people do mutually vouch for each other. Like I might vouch for you after getting to know you. That's normal, right? Going and putting a thing and like there are people that will just blindly telegram message people and say,
Yeah.
"Hey man, do you want to vouch for me?" And you're like, you've completely missed the point. And so I lead a slash. I'm in a position where like, yeah, people are going to listen to whatever I say when it comes to me saying this guy should get slash. So I understand the bias that I bring, but you have to realize that today it starts with centralization and it
I think you
starts
also have all the incentive to make sure you're doing right there.
right,
You're not going to step in and do that. I would. It is not just your role as leader here. It is also my expectation of the responsibility that you have to
right.
go do this well. Anyway, I found that funny. I always just picture you in a high school cafeteria trying to lead a bunch of degens around. All right, I could talk to you for much longer. We're not going to do that right now. I think you've expanded my understand. I think I had OTC marketplace in my
Mhm.
head. Clearly, there's a lot of other things you can go do on the
Ethos
Ethos
broker.
network, which is under broker at the top there. So it's ethos.network. Continue to be fascinated by this. And you host a stream where you vibe code a lot of stuff. I think
Mhm.
you've sort of done some calls technology, so you can make
Mhm.
sure you're saving the token calls by a bunch of your favorite Twitter followers.
It's a fun one.
It's a great stream to watch, so people should give you a follow and click on that link on the right side when you see Serpin live. Uh, Superpowers, baby, let's go. Thanks for
Yeah,
hanging out with
love
us
it.
today, my man.
Thanks for having me up here.
All right, dude. Cheers.